Hello, everybody. Today I wanted to take some time and go over the tree ring activity that you all will be doing in this course. Um, so we are going to go through and kind of explain the assignment, and then of course at the end the due date will be there, but you can also find the description in the syllabus, as well as reach out to myself or Dr. Smith to get clarification if you need it. Okay. So the tree ring activity is a metaphorical or symbolic exercise used in spirituality and counseling. Um, it helps explore personal growth, resilience, and inner strength by visualizing oneself as a tree with rings representing life experiences. So the purpose of it is, when looking at a tree ring, which, obviously I had to put the picture in here, you kind of start like with the inner ring and kind of goes out to the outer ring. But the biggest part of this is that with tree rings, if you know anything about tree rings, there's a lot that you can tell about a tree based off the rings that it has, right? And so the purpose is for you to kind of go through and figure out like what does all of these different things tell you about yourself, to kind of learn like where maybe some of your biases come from, where some of your perceptions come from, and just kind of to get a deeper understanding of like who you are, obviously focused on spirituality and how we incorporate that, as ourselves and in our counseling profession. So this is an activity that you can do with clients, but we really wanted you all to do these for yourselves so you can see kind of what this looks like for you. So key things that are kind of explored throughout this activity are significant life events, personal values, relationships, beliefs, strengths, and challenges. Some benefits of this is that it encourages self-reflection and introspection, builds resilience and coping strategies, explores spiritual beliefs and practices, identifies sources of strength and growth areas, and fosters understanding of personal journey and patterns of growth. So I will go ahead and let you all know that I have done this activity and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm more than happy to share what I did for mine, and if you'd like to take a look at it, you're more than welcome to. So level one of the tree ring activity, there are 6 levels in total. So level one is counselor self-awareness of spirituality and spiritual competence. Typically what you're going to be looking at here is like understanding where your spirituality comes from, right? So here's 10 different questions that you can ask within this level. For the activity that you're doing, you only have to pick 2 to 3 prompts out of these 10 questions, to explore this. So level one is really focused on like understanding your own belief systems and worldview regarding spirituality and religion. You're going to explore a little bit about how your upbringing kind of was brought into that, as well as other factors that may also come up as well. These questions are on a document that is provided in Blackboard, for you to kind of take a look at those. I am not going to read all 10 to you in this video. Level 2 is client's spiritual history. So this is where you're going to kind of explore like, what were your beliefs all throughout your life, right? Like I said, I did this activity myself, and I started off, I was raised Catholic in the Catholic Church, went to Catholic school, left Catholic school, and continued with their CCD classes. However, I also started going to some church camps that were with Baptist church, churches, Methodist churches. So there was a lot of different religions that I kind of got to see growing up, and I didn't really fully understand the different perspectives, that I was given with that until I did this activity, which I know like saying that out loud now sounds silly, but I didn't really reflect on that much. So this is really going to kind of get an understanding of, what were you raised with and how did that influence who you are today? And kind of thinking about, have you used your own spiritual understanding to face challenges and things that you have gone through in your life? The next one is client's current spiritual perspective. So based off what you were raised in, based off what you believed to be true growing up, where are you currently at in your spiritual perspective? So what are current things that you still believe from things that you were raised in? What are things that maybe you're kind of questioning? How would you describe your current spirituality, and how does it influence your current life? When I first read through these, I was like, a lot of this is so repetitive, but when I actually did it, it was totally different. There's a lot of different things that go into it. It's really good to actually sit down and take some time to reflect. So I'd highly encourage you to do that, especially if maybe spirituality is something that either you strongly believe in and you practice it, very frequently today. Think about like all the history that has brought you to the current point that you're at. Or maybe you don't practice spirituality as much and you want to think about like, how can that look today based off what you have been brought up in. The next level is client spiritual conflict. So this level is really trying to figure out what does conflict look like for you within your spirituality. So there's a lot of different things. I personally feel as though that in today's world, there is conflict within people's spirituality and religion in general. And I think that like we don't fully understand what that looks like for us until we take time to sit and look at it. So this could be definitely for someone who, is kind of wavering back and forth on like, this is what I believe, but they say you can't believe this, and feeling like you have to kind of conform to like one certain thing. And this can kind of help you navigate like, what does that conflict look like? And what are things that are factoring into your own spirituality conflict? So maybe it's, again, I'll use me as an example. I grew up Catholic. I do still believe in a higher power. What that belief looks like, I'm not really sure, right? Like that's still something that I personally am exploring in my own life. And so now, it's like I have a lot of internal and external conflict currently in my life because growing up, I was taught to believe one thing that was very traditional. And, you had to follow a certain set of rules and there were a certain set of things that you had to do. Whereas now I know that there's a higher power and I believe that I have a relationship with that higher power. But then defining that as to what it is has caused me my own conflict, right? And do I even need to define it, right? Like having a relationship with my own higher power is enough for me, but it can still cause that conflict. Level 5 is client support system within the religious community and family system. So you'll get to know me, and I'm a huge family system person. That is just kind of where I operate from in general. And so this is really kind of figuring out, what does your interactions with your spirituality support group look like? Do you have that support group? For me, I have mentors. I do not have spiritual leaders, but I do have spiritual mentors. And those spiritual mentors are people that I look to be as strong in my relationship as they are. And so I am seeking out what they have. And so I'm learning from them from a mentorship relationship. I think that, again, I'm going to keep using me as an example, but growing up in a Catholic environment when I was younger, our spiritual leader was the priest that was there. And like, that was it, right? Like if you needed spiritual guidance, you went to confession and that's what you did. There wasn't really outside of that much other spiritual leadership. But there was a support system because you were expected to be at church, if not once a week, multiple times a week. And so you had that community and that support system there. Currently in my practice, I do engage in some community outreach that has promoted me and my spirituality, but it's not the defined community that you would often expect in spirituality, right? So for me, community outreach is providing service, being involved in the community, and just opening up and having those conversations. That allows me to be connected. I also have a really strong relationship with self-reflection, meditation, and nature. So that can be a part of the support system as well, because those are things that I practice daily to maintain that relationship. Level 6, which is the last level, is counselors' consultation with colleagues, supervisors, and spiritual leaders. So, like I said earlier, I do have a spiritual mentor and I reach out to her pretty frequently. I think it's really important to have those people in your life. And it's not just someone who I call my spiritual mentor and I don't talk to them. I'm typically talking to them multiple times a week, reaching out, asking for guidance, asking for a listening ear, asking for advice, asking for perspective, um, all of these different things that kind of go into it, as well as thinking about, in my current line of work as a counselor, I think it's really important for me to also reach out to mentors of other spiritual perspectives when working with clients who do not have the same perspective as me. And I do that quite frequently. I think that for me, I am learning to understand more of the spiritual outlooks that are there. I am very open to always hearing everyone's perspectives and listening to them. I find it all very fascinating and interesting. That does not mean that I'm going to change my beliefs, but I still want to listen and let them be heard because I still think it's interesting. But there are still biases that I may have, and I will need to seek out that consultation to make sure that I am doing those things. So that's kind of what we're looking at here in the level 6. So don't get that confused with level 5. Level 5 is, what does that support system look like, which your support system can be a spiritual leader. But then level 6 is, how are we consulting with other people, and making sure that we are approaching counseling with the client respectively while still understanding and being aware of our biases as well, and not trying to influence our biases or use our biases with the client, even if they believe in the same thing. And that's it. So remember, this assignment is due June 2nd. I would highly recommend that you start on this as soon as possible. Maybe do like a level a week or something like that, because I really think it's important to have some strong introspection, and really just have that space to where you can, think more in depth about the answers that you want to give. So if you have any questions, let us know. And I look forward to seeing your all's responses.